Hello, so in this video we will be looking at a higher GCSE maths question with a focus on simplifying surds. So this is our question here. So we need to show that this surd can be written in this new format where A and B are integers. So we're going to be looking at simplifying surds, and as you can tell here as well, we are also going to be rationalising the denominator. As you can see here, there is no surd in our denominator. So first thing I would suggest doing is root 180 is the only surd here which is not in the form of root 5. Now if we can make it in the form of root 5, we are then able to potentially simplify this numerator. So what you're going to do is think of how many 5s go into 180. Now when we think about that, we have got root 5 and our other number would be 36. So we write root 36. Now 36 is actually a square number. So we can actually simplify that down to 6. So root 180 now becomes 6 root 5. So what I'm going to do is rewrite that out. So I've got 6 root 5 now, subtract 2 root 5 as my numerator. So this now becomes 4 root 5. And already I've started the process of simplifying this surd down so that it can end up looking like the format they've asked. Now I'm going to focus my attention on that denominator. Now I need to eliminate the root 5 in that denominator. To do that, what we're going to do, so if I rewrite out our fraction, so we've got 4 root 5 as our numerator, and we've got 5 root 5 minus 5. Now, there's two ways we could do this. What you're going to do is multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same expression. However, because this is subtract, you do it as plus. Or what we can do to make our life a little bit easier when it comes to the simplifying stage is, because 5 is a common number in both, what we could do is factorise this first into a single bracket. Now if we do that, we end up with 5 bracket root 5 minus 1. That means we are now going to multiply the denominator and the numerator by what's in this bracket, but remembering that this would need to be a plus 1 when we multiply, not a subtract 1. The reason for that is we are trying to eliminate the surd. If we do this as the same, then we will end up still with a surd in our final answer. So I'm going to multiply this by root 5, subtract 1, add 1, and root 5, add 1. I'm going to put it in a bracket here, like that. So now our numerator, we are just going to basically be expanding this like a single bracket. So we've got 4 times root 5 times root 5. Now root 5 times root 5 is root 25. Like this. And then we've got 4 root 5 times 1. So we've just got plus 4 root 5. Now I can obviously, as you hopefully have recognised, we've got a square number here again. We've got root 25. So that, if I rub that out, will now become 5. That means I need to do 4 times 5. 4 times 5 is just going to give me 20. So I'm going to replace this now with 20. Then I'm going to look at my denominator. So this one here, I've got obviously a double bracket. I'm going to worry about that 5 afterwards, and I'm just going to expand this double bracket out. So I'm just going to put my 5 outside. Put my line in. So I've got root 5 times root 5, which gives me root 25. I've got root 5 times 1. I've got negative 1 times root 5. And then I've got negative 1 times 1, just like that. Now I'm going to simplify this down. So obviously we know here we've got a square number. So just write that in as 5 instead. And then these two are going to cancel each other out. Now if we had done negative 1 here, these two wouldn't have cancelled each other out. So that's why it's super, super important that if it is an expression like this, that we make sure we're doing the opposite of what the operation is inside that bracket. So this cancels with this. So we've now got 5 take away 1. 5 take away 1, obviously you know, is just going to be 4. So now we've got 5 times 4. So our denominator is now 20. So I'm just going to rewrite out my surd at this point over here. So I have got 20 plus 4 root 5 all over 20. Now if I look back at my question, always refer back to the question. You can see here I've got an integer and then I've got a fraction which has an integer on the bottom as our denominator. So I'm going to separate this out. Now what you can do to separate this out is basically write two fractions with the same denominators, because it means exactly the same thing, like this. So hopefully now you can see and recognise this is going to cancel down to just 1. And then we've got this here. So we know the root 5 is in the question, so we're not going to worry ourselves about anything we can do with that. There's nothing further we can do with the root 5. But the 4 and the 20, well, 4 goes into both. So what we can do is divide this by 4 and divide this by 4. Now if I do that, I'm going to rewrite out my simplified expression. So I've got 1 here plus 4 divided by 4 is just 1. So I've got root 5, and then 20 divided by 4 is 5. So A is 1 and B is 5. And that is your final answer.